I've been thinking about what I had said in yesterday's video, and I feel like there needs to be an addendum to what I had said. It's true that I think there are those moments where you get that clarity, where there's kind of like that, there's that emotional resonance, that moment where the logical part of you that says, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I want to pursue this thing," gets met with the emotional side of things, which is, "Oh my God, how could I do anything but this?" I think that's very true. I think you need to, if you have that moment, embrace it. If not, try and look for it, because the validation from that really is the only validation you ever need. But there is something that I suppose I left out, which is that life does tend to unfold in different stages, phases, what have you. It's rare that someone stays in pursuit of the same thing their whole life. Often, these pursuits that we go after last years, decades, perhaps, but rarely does it encompass our whole life. And it's an important distinction because you might find yourself at the age of, say, 20, 21 on some path that at that time is absolutely true. You need to go after it because it emotionally is true for you and it is exactly what you need to do. But you might find yourself, as I have at times, maybe in your early mid 30s, and you might realize what I went after in my 20s was true then, but it's not true now. That the thing I desired in my 20s no longer holds the same type of emotional weight to it. And this is not just, some fleeting changing of position, some fleeting changing of one's, you know, direction because they ran into some obstacle along the path. We're talking about someone that maybe in the early 20s to early 30s, spent a decade going after something. And you might find that at 30, your opinions in your life and what you want for it has changed very dramatically, and that the thing you want at 20 no longer holds any kind of sway for you or holds less than what you found, and that the sacrifice to continue to go after it is not worth it's not worth it anymore. It's not worth the sacrifice anymore. Either you've put a stopgap on something, maybe you went after your dreams, and maybe you put a stopgap, and that's fine. Dreams are not always going to work out, and you need, it's important to keep that in mind, that there are sacrifices that we made in pursuit of this thing, and if you want to change your path and you can't kind of blend both worlds, and yeah, you need to stop. Perhaps your desire was to do something in the arts or with traveling, and you now are at the age where maybe I want a kid, maybe I want a wife, I want a kid, and you can't marry both worlds, right? You can't. You haven't found a way, or perhaps there's no way to go after the things you want to go after and also have a family. The time taken away from one thing is too much of a neglect to the other. It happens. And it's important to recognize that what you want at a young age or at any age will always be different. I found it with myself right now. After it seemed like that wreck that I went through, that car wreck there, it's not just the physical, it's not just like the pains and the aches that I felt that have stunted me in terms of my interest in the gym. I've talked about, how I've had less and less sessions. My sessions have been more difficult because of it. But overall, my value in it has gone away. My value in doing things like, say, powerlifting, for example, is not there anymore. My ambition to do it has diminished considerably. And it's not just that I took a setback and I don't want to put the effort in to get back up there again. It's more of a reevaluation of, do I want to put the effort to get back there again? Do I want to go after this? Because I've found that since that wreck, that since the time that I've taken away from the gym, that the fact that I haven't been, training for, like 2 hours or whatever, 90 minutes a day, and I've had much shorter sessions now, I found that the free time that I've had to be able to do more with my writing, to get a lot more reading done. If you've been following my Goodreads, I've been blowing through these books like pretty darn well. So you might, I've found that these different pursuits have, the free time that I have not going to the gym anymore as long has enhanced my writing, and I've fallen more in love with the writing side of things. And so for me, it's a consideration about what do I want to do. Perhaps that stage in my life is over. Maybe it was only a fleeting, I've been doing this maybe like 5 years, something like that. Maybe it was a 5-year thing. Perhaps it's over now. Maybe I move on to something else. And it's important to reflect and to kind of take a step back. I don't think it's not a very yang sort of energy, right? Like to figure this out and to see if this is the right path you want to go down. It's very yin. It's very relaxed. It's a lot of time spent kind of contemplating, maybe doing nothing, in all honesty. Helps a lot. And time spent with yourself to figure yourself out is of the utmost importance. It's the only way you can really figure this pathway out. And so I encourage you to understand that as you go down this pathway, it's not always going to be permanent. Things are not always going to be the path that you choose the rest of your life, as much as it feels that way in that moment. There are things that come to us and only exist for a short while, and that is simply the time that they've been given. It's some law of nature, of the universe, but whatever. Maybe it's just the human condition itself. Perhaps it's just the way our brains and our minds work. But things don't always last, or interesting things are not always sustainable. And if they go away, truly, don't cling to it. I think it's important to understand that you should try and move on to something else if it's no longer there. But recognizing what that thing you should move on to, and recognizing if it's something you should leave or stay, should never be done lightly. You should never do this out of some anger, out of some slump, out of some frustration. It should come from a very calm, sort of centered place of, I've exhausted what I want to do. I've done things that I enjoy in this process, but pursuing it no longer makes me happy. Pursuing it no longer gives me any degree of satisfaction, fulfillment, mastery of this area of life, or this hobby no longer excites me. I don't wake up fulfilled anymore wanting to do it. Perhaps it's something else I need to move on to do. It exists, and if you can approach it from that place, I think you'll find a strong answer.